Hi, it's Katrina. Number 10. Pyramids of the Amazon. The Amazon jungle is not what it appears to be. 6 centuries ago, the jungle was transformed by the mysterious Kasarabe culture. These rainforest societies built an extensive urban network that spread throughout the jungle in Bolivia. They showed up on the scene around the year 500 AD and prospered until 1400, when they suddenly vanished. Researchers from the German Archaeological Institute, headed by expert Heiko Prumers, recently uncovered 26 of their sites using new technology. Many of them were already known to researchers, but 11 were brand new. The team uncovered 2 large settlements that would have acted as the main cities. A raised causeway extended for miles through the jungle like a modern highway, connecting the 2 dense urban cities with small rural settlements. The researchers also identified canals that would have allowed people to paddle small canoes from one village to the next. No settlement was more than an hour of walking distance to another. What's amazing is that all of this stuff is invisible now to the naked eye. It's hiding under dense foliage and shrubbery. The only way researchers identified the sites was by using light detection and ranging technology, scanning the floor of the jungle from a helicopter. This is the same technique that's been used to find over 500 lost sites across Mesoamerica so far. But there is still a lot of mystery. Nobody knows how extensive human habitation in Amazonia really was. It looks like Bolivia was terraformed by early cultures, and many other parts of the jungle may have been transformed as well. This means the original inhabitants of the Amazon didn't necessarily live in harmony with nature as previously believed. They tore nature down and built their own cities of stone and wood, just like cultures everywhere else in the world. Number 9. The Forest of Kong. An ancient jungle was recently discovered at the bottom of a massive sinkhole in China. Researchers say it's something straight out of the Hollow Earth theory, and a place where King Kong himself would feel right at home. The subterranean jungle was found by cave explorers at a depth of 630 feet. The sinkhole is about 1,000 feet long and 490 feet wide. It's only accessible through a hole in the surface, which allows in light for the plants to grow. What makes the sinkhole such an amazing place is that the trees on the bottom are massive, some of them growing up to 130 feet tall. This is a place that has never been disturbed by humans. There haven't been any new species discovered, but that doesn't mean there won't be soon. It's unusual because most sinkholes are only a few feet deep. It is almost unthinkable for a forest to take root inside of one, creating a kind of isolated ecosystem. Then there's the whole Hollow Earth theory to think about. The theory was popularized by astronomer Edmund Halley in 1692. He believed that underneath the surface of the Earth is another, more bizarre secret world. He saw the surface of the planet as nothing more than the ceiling of this other world, which he even believed had its own sun and its own giant creatures. The closest we've come so far to any kind of Hollow Earth is this newly found jungle sinkhole. Number 8. Survivors of the jungle. In 2015, a small plane crashed in the Colombian jungle. The plane was flying from Quibdó to Nuki and went down about halfway through its journey. When rescuers showed up to the crash site, they found the plane mangled, the pilot dead, and the aircraft doors wide open. It seemed pretty obvious to everyone that someone had crawled out of the wreckage, and they were lost somewhere in the remote jungle. For 3 days, rescue teams scoured the surrounding area looking for survivors, but they didn't find anyone. This came as no big surprise considering how dense the forest here is. This isn't your local park. It's a very real jungle with malaria-spreading insects, thick nets of foliage, and skulking predators. The rescue team resorted to setting up loudspeakers to try and attract any survivors who could hear the noise. They almost gave up when on the 5th day, a woman appeared from the brush holding a tiny baby. Maria Nelly Murillo and her infant son escaped the crash, wandered into the jungle, and lived for 5 days before being found. It was a miracle they didn't die, and extremely lucky that the rescue team located them in such an isolated environment. And now for number 7. But first, it's shout-out time! I want to say a big thank you to Rock DLR and Amanda Banks for supporting this channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos about amazing discoveries. Number 7. The Cambodian Treasure Hunter. Toek Teek was a teenager during the genocidal rule of the Khmer Rouge in 1970s Cambodia. It was during his time as a foot soldier that he learned just how much money he could make by pillaging lost jungle temples and selling stolen relics. He began a profitable career as a real-life tomb raider. The reason we know this is that Toek Teek recently started working with authorities to identify and return many of the objects he took. He claims that in the 2 decades that he worked as a treasure thief, he plundered over 1,000 artifacts belonging to the ancient Khmer Empire, whose capital was the glorious city of Angkor. Toek Teek has already identified more than 100 artifacts that he stole himself, kept in museums across the world, even the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. These pieces were stolen by him, taken from the jungle, traded on the black market, and then sold to legitimate museums. His is a shocking story of real black market antiquities trading. He even snitched on Douglas A.J. Latchford, a man once believed to be a scholar of Khmer culture. Latchford was knighted for gifting treasures to Cambodia's museums. Treasures pillaged by Teek and sold for a small profit. But Latchford was indicted in 2019 for trafficking robbed jungle antiques. Then, just a few months later, he suddenly and mysteriously died. Number 6. The Smoked Mummies of Papua New Guinea. Researchers from North America traveled to Papua New Guinea in 2008 to help restore the mummy of a long-dead village chief. The chief, a shaman warrior named Moi Mango, was mummified in the 1950s. However, local villagers were having an issue because his mummy was starting to decay. Using their scientific knowledge mixed with the knowledge of the locals, the team was able to preserve his corpse for centuries to come. But here's the thing, Moi Mango was not the only mummified body that the researchers discovered. The Anga clan have been smoking their mummies, like you might smoke a salmon, for a very long time. Overlooking the cliffs of their jungle village are the smoked bodies of their ancestors. When someone important in the community dies, the Anga began the mummification ritual. The process involves smoking the mummy in a special hut for 30 days and using local plants to keep them preserved. It's fairly simple and results in a kind of jerky human corpse. The Anga believe, not necessarily in an afterlife, but in the spirit. They believe that when someone powerful like a chieftain dies, their spirit will roam the jungle if their body is not properly taken care of. They even make the smoked mummies feel like part of the community by bringing them down off the cliffs to participate in annual celebrations. Number 5. The Airmans Remains. Herbert Young Jr. was married to Zolene McLean in 1941, just months before the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. Much like many young Americans at the time, Herbert, fresh out of high school, signed up with the military. He joined the U.S. Army Air Force and trained to be a pilot. According to his military records, he trained at Williams Field, joined the 5th Air Force Command, and fought in the 90th Bomber Group, 321st Bombardment Squadron. His wife was carrying his unborn child when he left to join the war effort and fight the Japanese. On April 10, 1944, Herbert Young was a successful veteran that had flown 300 hours of combat missions. He was scheduled to go home, but volunteered to pick up one more mission. He got onto a B-24 bomber, fought against a Japanese installation, and was shot out of the sky. The left wing of his plane disintegrated, and he fell 10,000 feet. His plane crashed at an unknown place in the Papua New Guinea jungle and was never discovered. According to local villagers, he and 3 other survivors were taken prisoners by the Japanese and then killed. It wasn't until 2014 that his bones and teeth were identified. His remains were uncovered deep in the largely unexplored jungles of Papua New Guinea, near the wreckage of the B-24 bomber. Herbert's daughter, who never met him, was informed by the military that the remains of her father were finally found after 70 years. She never knew her dad and was 71 years old when archaeologists finally uncovered his lost remains buried in the forest. Number 4. Unique blood. Some individuals living in an extremely remote part of the Amazon jungle have different blood than the rest of us. A new study revealed that these jungle dwellers have unique antibodies that protect them from being infected with the rabies virus. This has come as a huge shock because up until now, scientists believed natural protection against rabies was impossible. Researchers with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention took blood samples from 63 people living in the Amazon jungle of Peru. Out of the 63 participants, 7 of them had the antibodies needed to fight off a rabies infection. That means that if they were bitten by a bat or another creature with rabies, they could fight the infection off themselves without getting a shot. Scientists are now struggling to figure out how the Peruvians, who live in the middle of nowhere and have little contact with the outside world, have such unique blood. Rabies is a nightmare because it attacks the central nervous system, meaning the brain. So if you're infected, it is 100% fatal without a vaccination. It's estimated that 55,000 people a year die from getting rabies and not having access to the proper shots. The jungle inhabitants are immune to this, but scientists don't know why. The main theory now is vampire bats, notorious carriers of rabies. There are swarms of vampire bats in the area where these rabies-immune people live. It could be that over a long period of time, so many rabies bites cause them to develop their own natural defense system. If true, it's a shocking display of real-time evolution. It's like people living in an area plagued by poisonous snakes suddenly developing a resistance to snake venom. Number 3. The Brazil Tablet. The Brazil Tablet is a mysterious artifact from hundreds of years ago. It could prove that an ancient colony from Africa established themselves in the Brazilian jungle. This allegedly happened in 1310, long before the Portuguese ever landed on Brazil's shores. According to the famous explorer Percy Fawcett, the Brazil Tablet was discovered in an unexplored region of the jungle. The artifact was intriguing because Percy recognized its African traits. The tablet showed a Malian king, a man clearly from Africa, holding a tablet inscribed with ancient Mande writing. If true, it would represent a real African artifact in Brazil long before Europeans ever arrived. Unfortunately, nobody knows if the artifact was real or not. Although Percy claimed that he saw it, he also vanished in the jungle while searching for the lost city of Z in the early 1900s, never to be seen again. One of the theories is that the tablet was left behind by a group of Malian colonists who sailed from Africa to Brazil. They built a small settlement, but were never reinforced with additional colonists. They then died out, leaving nothing but this mysterious tablet behind to be found centuries later. Number 2. Scorched Earth. For decades, it has been believed that the Maya civilization of Mexico and Central America was different from other civilizations of the day. Specifically, different from the brutal and violent Aztecs of central Mexico. It's been thought that the Mayan culture was peaceful and that they were more kind and gentle than their neighbors to the north. Researchers thought only near the ending of their civilization, when they were threatened by drought and climate change, did they resort to warfare. Then, around the year 1000, the Maya collapsed. This may all be completely wrong. New evidence unearthed by expert David Wall with the University of California, Berkeley suggests the Maya were not as innocent as they seem. Not only did they engage in full-scale war, but they also practiced scorched earth. They didn't just destroy rival cities or factions, they burned everything to ash. This was a savage move so that their enemies couldn't recover and their people would starve to death. Researchers discovered evidence of a thick layer of charcoal at the bottom of Lake Eknab in the northern Guatemala jungle. The layer of charcoal is irrefutable proof that the ancient city nearby completely burned down. The charcoal layer dates from around 690 AD, while the Maya were prospering. The period matches with a written record of a burning campaign on a rival city called Naranjo at the same time. This is the first instance of Maya brutality being confirmed through both written records and physical proof. To sum things up, the charcoal shows that the Maya, even if unprovoked, could burn a rival city to the ground and slaughter its people. Number 1. The smallest monkey. A fossilized tooth was found in the Peruvian Amazon by a team of scientists. The tooth has now been identified as belonging to an extinct species of tiny monkey. I'm not talking about a small monkey that might sit on your shoulder in a diaper, but a monkey smaller than a hamster. It lived 18 million years ago and has just filled a gap in the fossil record. Scientists know monkeys arrived in South America from Africa 40 million years ago, then diversified into over 150 species. But the process of how that happened is still a mystery. We have gaps in the fossil record between 13 and 31 million years ago, making it unclear how so many different species evolved so quickly. But as we can see now, 18 million years ago was a time of tiny monkeys. The team of researchers from Duke University and the National University of Piura discovered the fossil near the Rio Alto Madre de Dios. They found a single monkey tooth by sifting through about 2,000 pounds of sediment. That's how rare of a discovery it is. This single upper molar was able to reveal the smallest monkey fossil ever found. It's important to mention that the pygmy marmoset is currently the smallest monkey known to science, but it's modern and doesn't count. This is currently the tiniest ancient monkey that we know about. Thanks for watching! Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and come back soon for more videos. See you later, bye!